Welcome to Cinematic Recaps. This movie is called Cold Prey. The movie is about 5 young Norwegians that heads up to the mountains to snowboard. One of them breaks his leg and it's start to get dark, so they spend the night in a big, abandoned hotel, closed 30 years ago. They soon find out they are not alone. Sit back and enjoy to see what happens. The movie begins in the 1970s. A little youngster is hurriedly racing through the snow while sporting a birthmark over his eye. He stumbles into a ditch while trying to flee the something that is pursuing him. The youngster is pelted with snow and unable to escape being buried alive because his pursuers are invisible. The boy's worried parents are questioned by the police during the opening credits about his whereabouts and whether he might have ran away. They inform him that he has never gone missing before and that he wouldn't have fled. Present-day couple Jansik and Eirik had requested to go skiing with their pals Mikael, Ingunn, and Morten Tobias. While skiers and snowboarders are listening to the radio announcer caution them to be ready for crowds, Jansik assures them that they won't have to because Eirik always discovers the nicest secluded spots. To Morten's obvious discomfort, Mikael and Ingunn make out in the back seat. Morten is clearly the fifth wheel. He asks Janik and Eirik if they intend to live together, and Eirik responds, sure, while Janik disagrees. It gets odd in tone. The pals reach the mountain and start ascending. When Janik asks Ingunn if she loves Michael, she fumblingly admits that she does. When everyone reaches the top, they start to snowboard back down. All of them appear to be having fun until Morten has a severe fall and breaks his leg. As it grows dark, Janik understands they can't walk him back to the car even though he is able to set it. Nobody has mobile service, so they start looking for shelter nearby. The group agrees to transport Morten to the ski lodge that Janik finds. They enter after quickly realizing it has been abandoned. As they look for something to fix his leg, they place Morten on a couch in the living room. Under the desk, Janik discovers a box containing a shotgun round and a tube of super glue. She discards the shell and fixes Morten's wound with super glue. Eirik, Ingunn, and Mikael start looking find the generator once things have calmed down, but Janik stays behind with Morten to read the guest book. The generator is located in the basement, and Eirik turns it on. A guest room that has been reduced to cinders and a spot on the wall where an axe should be are discovered by Mikael and Ingunn in the meantime. Janik returns to the lounge and reads the visitor book entries, which appear to indicate that the lodge closed in the 1970s and that its owners had lost their son. A photograph of the parents and their son, clearly the child with the birthmark from the opening of the movie, is discovered by Janik and distributed to various people. Playing records and consuming the remaining alcohol allows the gang to make the most of their predicament. Janik receives an apology from Eirik for presuming that she wanted to live with him, and he adds that they would likely get tired of one another anyhow. As Morten watches helplessly, they cuddle up to go to sleep. Mikael and Ingunn enter a vacant hotel room and get into a bed. Ingunn pushes Mikael away as he starts to become aggressive about having sex. He storms out after calling her a tease. When Morten awakens, Janik and Eirik take him outside to use the restroom. Mikael switches the music back on while rushing inside the lounge to get a drink. In the meantime, Ingunn hears an odd sound and looks into the hallway. She decides to gather her clothes and head to see Mikael after failing to see him. She misplaces her locket as she exits the room. A figure behind her trips her with a pickaxe as she bends to pick it up. The figure attempts to impale Ingunn once more while she screams and is stabbed in the arm, but she is able to roll out of the path. The music drowns away her screams as she flees down the hallway. The person catches up to her just as she reaches the steps leading up to the lounge. She cries out as she sees Mikael, but as the music ends, she is fatally stabbed and dragged away by the pickaxe. When Janik enters the room again, Mikael is dejectedly seated at the bar. He claims that Ingunn is frigid when she asks him to explain what's wrong. She explains to him that Ingunn is a virgin and that her anxiety is normal. Mikael feels bad about his behavior. The following morning, Mikael returns to the guest room carrying a breakfast tray to express her regrets to Ingunn. He approaches, but the door is closed, and she doesn't answer, so he makes his way back to the living room. Eirik is getting ready to return to the automobile and seek assistance in the meanwhile. Janik signals her desire for him to move in by placing her house keys in his pocket. He exits the cabin after she bids him farewell with a kiss. He notices blood on the ground as he turns the corner. As he advances, he discovers Ingunn's body lying in the snow. The blunt edge of a pickaxe smacks him in the head, and he runs over to her. Mikael and Janek make the decision to leave the lodge and head down to the cellar. They locate a door by the generator, open it, and a secret rear room is revealed. There are empty food cans, modern apparel, and shelves full of modern equipment inside. Because most of the items in the room were created after the lodge closed in the 1970s, Janek panics. They quickly return to the lounge, where she informs Mikael that she will speak with Ingunn. Mikael rushes upstairs to the kitchen to hunt for Morten after seeing that he's gone missing. Ingunn is being urged to leave the room by Janek. Janek opens the door and sees the room splattered in blood when she doesn't respond. She exits quickly and returns to the living room. When Mikael gets to the kitchen door, something dark and crimson is coming out from under it. When he walks in, Morten is on the floor, having fallen while attempting to open a can of beets, which is why there is a red material there. As Janek storms into the room, they start to chuckle. They are led to the guest room by her. Ingunn's locket is discovered by Mikael in a bloody pool. Janek and Mikael exchange glances as Morten exclaims that they are the only persons present, recognizing that there must be a resident in the basement. The front door opens as they turn to leave, and a chilling surge of air enters the hallway. They are pushed back inside the guest room by Janek, who also blocks the door. They pause to catch their breath as someone slams into it. The individual on the other side moves away as the barricade remains in place. Janek is instructed to run and jump out the window by panicked Mikael. Morten can't run on his leg, says Janek. Morten starts to sob as Mikael advises her to leave him behind. When Janek won't get out, Mikael gets out by himself. He hides in a tool shed as Janek rushes to the window to see. Outside, the figure reappears abruptly. He is a towering mountain man with a thick beard, goggles, and animal hides all over him. He moves to the shed where Mikael is concealed. Mikael tries to conceal himself behind a stack of skis inside the shed. He crawls out of the shed after stepping into a bear trap while he tries to flee. From the window, Janek witnesses the mountain man sever Mikael's neck. Morten is taken by Janek and placed in the pantry. She offers him a can and instructs him to remember the label after noticing his panic. To get them out, she is going to the shed to look for a sled. Morten starts to profess his love for her, but she cuts him off and lets him know that she knows. At that point, she turns to go. Janek sees the mountain man approaching as she approaches the front entrance. Just as the door opens, she falls to the ground and witnesses Mikael's body being dragged into the living room. She enters the shed covertly and discovers skis and a sled, but it is too heavy to be transported. She collapses on top of it out of exasperation and looks up at a shotgun on a shelf. She takes it and goes back to the living room to look for the shell she had earlier thrown away. After getting it, she returns to the pantry and informs Morten of her strategy. To let the mountain man know where they are, she and Morten go to the basement and turn off the generator. When the mountain man approaches, she hands Morten a flashlight and instructs him to turn it on and off. She will then shoot him. In a mound of trash, Morten discovers a box cutter, which he puts in his pocket. Janek discovers her house keys on the ground as she runs to hide. She explores further into the rear room where she discovers Eirik bound but still alive. When Morten notices the mountain man approaching, he turns on and off the flashlight. Eirik is told to stay quiet by Janek, who then runs back to her hiding location because she is unable to move him in time. When the mountain man enters the back room carrying a flashlight, Janek rushes forward and raises the gun to his face. He shuts off his light just as she's about to fire, enveloping them in darkness. Morten switches on his flashlight, while Janek shuts the door to the rear room and blocks it off with a piece of wood. The door resists the mountain man's battering, nevertheless. Janek refuses to leave when Morten implores her to do so because Eirik is also in the rear room, she says him. She urges Morten to open the door so she can shoot the mountain man when he wonders what they should do. When Morten raises the piece of wood, the door suddenly swings open. Janek shoots, but Morten knocks her gun out of her hands after realizing the mountain man is using Eirik as a human shield, deflecting the bullet. Janek screams as the mountain man uses his pickaxe to impale Eirik. Morten commands her to flee and grabs the gun. As Morton throws the useless rifle and tries to protect himself with a saw, Janek flees. He slices the mountain man's leg, but it doesn't help, and the pickaxe impales him. Running to the storage area, Janek puts on a pair of skis. With her flashlight, she dashes across the pitch black. It briefly touches the mountain man's figure just before he knocks her unconscious. When Janek wakes up, she discovers that her companion's remains are buried beneath her on the sled. She takes the box cutter out of Morton's pocket after noticing it there. The mountain man starts throwing the dead over the edge as soon as he arrives at his target, a deep ravine. She uses the box cutter to stab him in the neck when he tries to grab Janek's foot. She then reaches for the pickaxe and starts to swing at him, but she misses. They battle after he catches it by the other end. Finally, he forces her over the cliff's edge and raises his axe to stab her. She tears his goggles off at the same time, exposing a birthmark across his eye. The mountain man misses as he is startled, and the axe strikes the ice. Janek gets to her feet and grabs the axe. She repeatedly swings it at him, moving him closer to the ravine's brink. She makes one last swing with the pickaxe as he approaches the edge and stabs him in the stomach. The mountain man sees a flashback of himself as the youngster at the start of the movie as he plunges from the cliff. He looks up at his assailants, and as he cries for them to stop, we witness the picture of his parents deliberately burying him alive in the snow. The bodies of Eirik, Mikal, Ingunn, and Morton are found surrounding the mountain man as he crashes to the bottom of the ravine. Exhausted, Janek collapses near the brink of the ravine. And that is the end of this movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Daily updates of movie recaps like this. Comment what movie you want next. Thanks for watching.